and I'm going to be your instructor for this project workshop. So we will be starting very soon, and in the meanwhile, let me just introduce myself quickly. Well, I'm from New Delhi and I have been living here for a very long time. I also have Aditi with me, who is a resident team member at Data is Good.
Hi guys, hi Maryam. I also live in New Delhi, just like Maryam, guys. Guys, we'd both love to know where everyone is from. Please introduce yourself in the chat window, especially which city you come from, which country you're from, and also we'd love to know, are you a student, working professional, etc.
Awesome. Aditi, it seems like we have a great crowd today. Very excited to hear where everyone is from. Okay, so the answers have started pouring in, and we have so many people from Singapore and Noida, then Kuala Lumpur, Bangalore, Hyderabad, New York. Wow, that is great.
Absolutely. It seems like people from all over the globe have joined us today. This is amazing, Maryam.
Perfect. Aditi, I have an idea. Before starting the workshop, let us do a quick poll to understand everyone's coding experience. Guys, I have already created a poll for you, and now that poll must be visible on your screen on the right hand side. So please go ahead, choose the option that best represents your work experience or your coding experience. And we would really love to know if you are a complete beginner, or you have some coding experience, or you just love coding.
Yes, guys, this will help us give a perfect idea of the room and help us to slow down or pick up the pace accordingly.
Okay, so we will be closing the poll any moment. And here we go. Aditi, are you ready?
Ready? Super ready.
Okay, so it seems like Aditi is also very excited. Well, let us check out the result, and here we go. Okay, so I can see that most of the students, they are just starting up in data science. Few have a little coding experience. Well, this is great, Aditi. We have to keep this in mind.
And we have to keep this in mind. Yes, Maryam, this makes sense completely. Well, we have a question. Can an absolute beginner also work on a hands-on project with us today?
No worries, guys. This hands-on project workshop was designed for absolute beginners to intermediate users. So we will explain each and everything starting from scratch. And trust me on this, you will gain a lot of experience after the end of this webinar. So guys, is everyone excited? Please reply in the comments.
And I can see that students are super excited to start the project with us. Thanks everyone for being such a wonderful audience. Your energy is very encouraging.
Yes, thank you so much everyone. This is really motivating.
Maryam, can you please brief us a little about the project on which we are going to work?
Aditi, we are going to work on a very interesting data science project, that is Agricultural Production Optimization Engine. And in this project, we can help optimize the agricultural production by building a predictive model to suggest the best crops that should be grown depending upon the most suitable climatic factors and the soil conditions. And another very important thing to note here is that post this workshop, you can use this project and upload it in your profile and start building your data science project portfolio.
Maryam, we heard a new terminology, project portfolio. Can you please explain what is a project portfolio?
Of course, Aditi. See, a project portfolio, it is a collection of your completed projects that showcase your applied data science capabilities. Now it highlights not only your theoretical knowledge, but your applied knowledge as well. So it's really helpful.
Thanks, Maryam. I guess that all of us have understood what a project portfolio is. But one thing I still want to understand is, how can this portfolio be helpful for a data science student or aspirant?
See, a project portfolio is very important these days, as most of the recruiters who are hiring for data scientists and data analysts, they have lots and lots of choices these days. In fact, a single data science job posting, it might receive over hundreds of resumes every single day. So recruiters, they have no other option but to look at better signals at evaluating candidates. And it is practically impossible to conduct 100 interviews for any recruiter for just one single post. So honestly, a simple resume is tossed up in the dustbin. It's harsh, but it's true.
It's true. Honestly, Mariam, this makes a lot of sense too. In fact, one can ask himself, would you hire somebody who doesn't have enough experience as a data scientist with a six-figure salary? Would you take that risk when there are so many bright and experienced candidates available in the market? I don't want to scare anyone, but the truth is, an employer will need proof of your applied skills rather than academic skills. Companies won't pay you to do something you've never done before. It's quite logical, really. Would you step onto a plane flown by a pilot who'd never been up in the air before? Probably not. And most of the companies have started giving more weightage to projects than fancy college degrees. Your portfolio is the only thing that validates your skill and capability. So, guys, don't miss out on building your data science project portfolio as soon as possible.
Yes, Aditi, in fact, I cannot agree more with you. Companies always prefer to have candidates who have great exposure into solving high-end real-world problems.
So, guys, do you agree or disagree with this? Reply with agree or disagree in the comments below.
Aditi, I must say the energy in this room is insane. I'm just reading all the comments.
Absolutely insane. I have another question, Mariam. So, what type of projects would you recommend to the students to include in their data science project portfolios, which can help them to land their dream jobs?
Okay, well, any kind of challenging project would be great, but if you are just starting out, you have to balance between MVP, that is a minimum viable product, and current market trends. Hence, I would suggest that at least one time series forecasting project, one NLP project, and most importantly, two projects specifically for data cleaning and data visualizations.
MVP. Mariam, you have a way with fancy words, but I love it. Minimum viable product is MVP. Understood.
See, what MVP is, it is one of the most commonly used terminologies in startup. It is the minimum viable you can take to the market before adding all that fancy bells and whistles. And since you asked for somebody who is starting up, I cannot help but use MVP.
Got it, Mariam, and wonderfully put. So let's build our MVP, minimum viable portfolio, to get a six-figure data science job.
Aditi, MVP has a completely new meaning and perspective for data science today. So guys, what do you all think? Do reply in the comment section below.
Mariam, I have a few doubts. When you mentioned types of projects, I got NLP, time forecasting projects, but data cleaning and data visualization projects are a bit easy. Why are you suggesting them as must-have projects or in our MVPs?
That is a great question, Aditi. See, every project's first phase or first part, it requires work in data cleaning and data visualization. By doing few projects in these areas, you are actually telling the recruiters two important things. Firstly, that you can start working on any project quickly. And secondly, and yes, most importantly, that you understand the fundamentals that are required to complete any project.
Well, thank you so much, Mariam. I hope you guys have understood the importance of having a project portfolio. So, shall we start our project? Guys, are you ready? Let us know in the comments.
Well, I am excited too, so let us quickly start. But first of all, let me brief a little about the project on which we are going to work. So, you all must have heard about precision farming. Now, we are going to work on a project where we can help optimize the agricultural production by building a predictive model to suggest the best crops that should be grown based upon the most suitable climatic factors and the soil conditions.
Wow, Mariam. But I guess this sounds a little sophisticated to some of our students. Can you please explain the same in a bit simpler words?
No problem, Aditi. There's nothing fancy at all. As we all know, agriculture is dependent on climate conditions and various other factors. So, in a year, there could be good rains, fewer rains, humidity, heat waves, cold waves, etc. etc. Hence, we can conclude that weather is quite unpredictable sometimes. Also, the weather conditions, they are different for different regions. Now, this in turn, it makes it very difficult for the farmers to properly utilize and optimize their land for cultivating crops. For example, let us say if there is a farmer in Odisha who only grows rice during the rainy season and keeps his land empty during the rest of the seasons. Now, if somehow we can recommend some alternative crops to him that can be grown in that soil and weather conditions for other seasons, such as summer and winter, then it can really help the farmer to properly utilize his land.
Well, this is a great example, Maryam. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Guys, wouldn't it be so great if we can help the farmers using our knowledge in the domain of data science? I always love to work on projects which have a huge impact in the society. But this project has a huge business impact also. What do you have to say, Maryam?
Absolutely, Aditi. This is how students should choose their projects as well, where you can enjoy doing the project and also show the business impact to the recruiters. So even in an interview, if somebody asks you about your project, so start from the outcome of the project. That is the business impact. What problem were you trying to solve? Who were your end users? Who all got positively impacted by your project's outcomes? So these things are really important because in the market, you see companies, they are always looking for data scientists who understand business impact. So you will always have an edge over candidates who come with the academy-based knowledge.
This is so true, Maryam. Working on real-world projects increases your chances of getting hired. Well, I can see a few comments also saying the same thing. Guys, if you agree with us, then comment with project over degrees.
Thank you so much, guys. But now it is time for us to jump into the data set that we are going to use for this project. Aditi, is my screen visible?
Yes, Maryam, I can see a spreadsheet. Are we going to use this data set for our project?
Yes, guys, now as you can see this data set, you can also see that there are 8 columns in this data set which are giving us information about the soil condition requirements for different crops, such as the ratio of nitrogen, the ratio of potassium, the ratio of phosphorus and pH of the soil. And similarly, we have some columns which give us information about the climatic conditions required for the crops, such as there is temperature, rainfall and humidity. Guys, you can see that there is one more column named as a label, in which we have 22 unique crops such as banana, then there is coconut, rice, wheat, pulses, etc. Now, using these informations, we will have to train our machine learning predictive model, which can predict which crop is the most suitable crop to be grown for a given soil and climatic conditions.
This is so insightful, Maryam. Thanks for explaining the contents of this dataset, as I believe that it is very important for us to understand the dataset before starting to work on it. And one more thing, Maryam, how can students download this dataset? I mean, if they would also like to work on it for their capstone projects?
Guys, you all can get access to this dataset for free, but only after this webinar is over. So till then, please stay tuned with us. We will be sending you the dataset in your email or as a text message post this webinar.
Well, that's great, Maryam. But I have one more question. Which tools are we going to use to solve this problem? I mean, are we going to use Python, R or Tableau? As all of these tools are amazingly powerful and popular.
We are going to use Python for this project. We have chosen Python because Python is the most loved and used programming languages used by data scientists all over the world. But if any of you guys, you are more comfortable and you are into R or Tableau, then that is great too. You can also solve this problem using your own preferred tool. But if you ask me, then personally I will recommend Python, as it provides huge support of easy to use libraries and functions to implement each and every algorithm very, very easily.
That's completely true, Maryam. I totally agree with you. I remember that I started my data science journey with R programming, but ended up with Python due to the ease of implementing high-level algorithms very easily. Guys, I'll also personally recommend you to get started with Python programming language for learning data science.
So let us get started, and first of all install Python. We are going to use Python 3.6.8 version. I know many of you already have Python and Jupyter Notebook already installed on your machines, but for the sake of some of our friends, I will take just 2 minutes to start from absolute scratch. Also, it is highly recommended to use Python 3.6. Now let us install Python on our system, and for that search for Python 3.6.8 using Google. Now click on the first link. After the website is loaded, scroll down to the file section and click on the 64 bits executable installer. Now the executable will download, but since I already have downloaded this package, I will just open that. After the installation file has been downloaded, we can open it and then check the box saying add Python to 3.6 to path. And finally click on install option. It will take some time and it is done. So Python has now successfully been installed in our system. Now we will install the Jupyter Notebook on which we are going to do our project.
Maryam, you recommended that everyone should use the Python 3.6 version. What if some students have another version of Python? Can these students work on this project with any other version of Python, such as Python 3.7 or Python 3.8?
Of course, guys, you can work on this project with any version of Python, but the recommended version is 3.6. I have seen many data science libraries, they still do not have support for higher versions, hence I recommended the 3.6 version. Now let us install Jupyter Notebook.
Guys, the Jupyter Notebook is an incredibly powerful tool for interactively developing and presenting data science projects using multiple languages, including Python. It's a must-have.
Very true, Aditi. Now, for installing the Jupyter Notebook, we will have to open the command prompt and type pip install Jupyter Notebook and then press enter. Wait for some time and you can see that it is done. Now we just need to type Jupyter Notebook in the command prompt and then press enter. It is going to open in your default browser. You can see that the Jupyter Notebook has opened successfully.
Right, and that was super fun, Maryam. Guys, as you can see, we have installed Python and Jupyter Notebook so easily. Now what's next, Maryam? What are we going to do next?
Now we will create a new folder by clicking on the new button and then selecting the folder option. After clicking on the folder option, an unnamed folder has been created and we have to rename this folder to Optimizing Agricultural Production. Now what we will do is we will upload our data set inside this folder and also create a Jupyter Notebook where we will write our code. So to upload the data set, click on the upload option and then select the data set that has to be uploaded. And after the data set is uploaded, we will create our Jupyter Notebook. Now using this Jupyter Notebook, we will write code and complete this project.
That's great. I guess the next step is to install all the libraries required for this project. Am I right, Maryam?
Yes, Aditi, you are 100% right. We are going to install 6 libraries. So namely, there is NumPy, Pandas, Seaborn, Matplotlib, IPyWidgets and sklearn for our project. So to install these libraries, let us open the command prompt again and install these libraries one by one. So the first library is a NumPy. We will be using this for mathematical operations. To install NumPy, just type pip install NumPy. Then we have pandas, which we will be using for data frame manipulations. To install pandas, type pip install pandas. Next, we have Seaborn and Matplotlib for data visualization. To install Seaborn, type pip install Seaborn. To install Matplotlib, type pip install Matplotlib. Then we have IPy widgets, which will be used for interactive analysis. This library will help us to interact with the program. So to install IPy widgets, type pip install IPy widgets. And finally, we have sklearn, which will be used for implementing the machine learning algorithms. So to install sklearn, type pip install sklearn. Okay, so you can see that all of our libraries, they have been successfully installed, and now we can start working on our project.
This is going so smooth. Frankly speaking, I'm just loving everything at the moment. But I have one question in my mind. That though you have installed many libraries, are they enough for this project?
Yes, definitely. These libraries, they are enough for our project. But one very important thing that I forgot to tell you guys is that after the installation of these libraries, we have to import these libraries in our Jupyter notebooks. Otherwise, we will not be able to utilize them. So now let us start importing these libraries one by one. So I am just, copy pasting all the code required to import these libraries. As you can see, we have given short names for libraries after importing them, like NumPy as NP and Matplotlib as PLT and Pandas as PD, etc., etc.
Hooray! All of these libraries got imported successfully. And shorter names make so much sense. Maryam, let me ask a question to our students now. So guys, what do you think is the next step after importing the libraries? Let me see if you can guess it right. I think most of the students have guessed it correctly. So guys, you got it right. Is it reading the data set?
So now let us start reading the data set. For reading any kind of data set, you can use the Pandas library. And in this case, our data set is in the CSV format. Here CSV means comma separated values. Hence, we will use the read_CSV function for reading our data set.
Wow, super cool, Maryam. But what if the data set is in some other format, such as Excel, JSON, or TSV? Can we still use the same function, read CSV?
Aditi, see, the Pandas library can help to read data in any format. For reading Excel dataset, it provides us with a function called read_Excel. Similarly, for reading JSON datasets, it provides us with a function called read_JSON, and so on. So it's not an issue at all. Now let us read our dataset and store it in a variable called data, so that we can access the data as and when needed by calling the variable. Finally, after reading the data set, we will check the shape of the data set. And to check the shape of a data set, we have the shape attribute that can be used along any data frame. So guys, you can see that the shape of the data set comes out to be 2208, which means that the data set, it has 2200 rows and 8 columns.
Maryam, seems like some of our students have some doubts. Although you have covered them, still explain these two very commonly asked questions one more time. First, what is this data frame? And second, what is the shape of data set? What does this mean?
See guys, data frame is a data structure with columns of different data types. For now, you can think of it like a spreadsheet or an SQL table. And the shape of a data set is an attribute or property of a data set that tells you the number of columns and rows that are present in a table. So I hope your doubts are clear now.
Okay, this means that 2200, 8 refers to the number of rows and columns present in the table, right?
Yes, definitely, Aditi. Here, 2200 refers to the number of rows present in the data set and 8 refers to the number of columns present in the data set. Now, moving forward, let us check the contents of the data set using the head function. So guys, this head function, it returns the first n rows. It is very useful for quickly testing if your object has the right type of data in it.
That's great. This data set looks very structured and clean. I can see all the columns and their associated values very clearly. There are 8 columns in the data set where we have information about the soil and climatic conditions of the crops. Now, Maryam, don't you think we should also make sure that this data set doesn't consist of any missing values?
Absolutely, Aditi. It is very important to check for missing values in the data set as machine learning models, they cannot process missing values. So here is a question. How do we detect if a data set has missing or, in other words, null values?
Well, since you have specifically mentioned null, I'm sure there is a function for detecting null values also.
Guys, this is called an intelligent guess. Spot on, Aditi. We have a function named isNull function. So the isNull function, it will help us to detect all the missing values present in the data set. So let me use this isNull function with the data set. And as you can see that for all the columns present in the data set, the total number of missing values, it is 0. So this means that there are no missing values present in the data set.
Oh, that's great, Maryam. That in our case, the data set is clean and has got 0 missing values. But what to do if we have missing values in any other data sets? Can you please suggest our students with some popular techniques that can be used to treat the missing values present in a data set?
Good question. See, most often when you will find data sets to work on some other projects, you will find missing values also in those data sets. And in these kinds of cases, you can use the fill_NA function to replace these missing values with statistical values such as mean, median, or mode.
Thanks for this information, Maryam. But I can see some students have a common doubt. How to decide when to use mean, median, or mode?
Guys, you can use the mean value to replace the missing values. If the values are numerical, you can use the mode value to replace the missing values if the values are categorical in nature. And finally, you can use the median value to replace the missing values if the data set, it consists of huge number of outliers. So I hope I was able to provide a basic understanding of how to deal with missing values in a real world scenario. Though I can see a few more questions around this. Guys, I would really love to explain more, but unfortunately, we might not have that much time to cover all of this. So I'm afraid we have to go back to our current data set.
Makes sense. Guys, don't worry. We have a complete data science bootcamp program for you. But let me not jump ahead.
Yes, Aditi, let us get back. Let us keep our scope of discussion to this project for the time being. We can discuss the data science bootcamp program and the special bonus for the students at the end.
Okay, guys, we have explored the data set, but one thing is missing. We still don't know about the crops that are present in the data set. Let's explore the crops present in the data set so that we can relate to this problem deeply.
Right, Aditi, let us do it. To know about the values present in a column, we can use the value counts function. The value counts function, it returns the count of unique values present in a column. And it's very simple to understand. Even the function name is self-explanatory. So value counts means count of the unique values in a given column or field.
Well, here I just want to add one more important thing. There are so many different names for the same thing that confuses beginners many times. For example, you can call a row record, observation, line item, etc. While you'd hear columns being referred to as fields, and in few cases, especially statistical language variables as well. So never get alarmed if you counter multiple names. They might be just referring to what you already know.
Aditi, that is a brilliant explanation. Okay, so let us execute this function. So we can see the resulting object is in the descending order, and the first element is the most frequently occurring element. And the best part, they exclude NA values by default.
Wow, we can all see the list of all the crops present in the dataset, along with the number of occurrences or count. This is so good, Maryam. You're making things super easy. I'm so excited to see this list, as the list includes fruits such as pomegranate, banana, oranges, apple, papaya, coconut, watermelon, muskmelon, grapes, mango, etc. And crops such as kidney beans, moth beans, rice, wheat, maize, mung bean, chickpea, lentil, coffee, pigeon, peas, etc. I'm really getting excited to witness the trends and patterns in the dataset.
True, Aditi. So why are we waiting? Let us do some statistics and explore cool and interesting patterns. We will start with the average climatic and soil conditions required for all the crops at once. And to save time, I have already copied and pasted a previously written code. So here we go. Yes. And as we can see, we are just simply using the mean function to obtain the average values.
Maryam, allow me to summarize the findings.
Yes, please go ahead, be my guest.
Guys, follow me along. I can see that the content of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus required in the soil is around 50%. Average temperature is around 25 degrees Celsius. Average humidity is around 71%. Average pH is around 7. And average rainfall is around 100 millimeter. Pretty interesting. Yes, we got the average. But I think we should also find the minimum and maximum soil and climatic condition requirements for each of the crops. What do you think, Maryam?
Yes, absolutely. But I have an idea. Let us create a function that will add interactivity and will also output results for each crop with the proper formatting. Now again, to save time, I have already created a summary function. So just a second. Just copy pasting. Yeah. So I have pasted the summary function, and it is a very simple function, nothing to get alarmed about. You can see that we have used a magic function, that is @interact, which comes with the IPyWidgets library to make the function interactive.
Guys, I hope everyone can recall we have installed IPyWidgets library. It was installed a few minutes earlier. Now Maryam is using that.
Yes. And okay, so this drop down is shown only because of this IPyWidgets library. If we remove this @interact, then this function, it will become a non-interactive. And similarly, using this function, you can convert any function into an interactive function. For example, in this case, we can use the drop down to select the crop for which we want to check the minimum and the maximum requirements for each soil and climatic conditions.
I'm already loving this IPyWidgets library, but I think some of the students want to get a detailed explanation on how we got this drop-down list of all the crops, isn't it?
Guys, as you can see inside the function, we have specified a list of all the crops using the value counts function and stored it in a variable which will be later used for filtering all the values. Now this helps us to get this drop-down list of all the crops. And after that, we are filtering our data based upon the crop selected and then check the results one by one for each of the crops as per our requirement. I know some of you come from non-coding backgrounds, so please do not worry. You should be able to learn and execute things like these just in a couple of days.
Wow, this is simply amazing. I never knew that we can make such interactive functions using Python. Now, I want to try out this function. Mariam, can I check the value for mango? Mango is my favorite fruit.
Sure, Aditi. Here you go. Let me select mango. Now you can see that all the values they have got updated according to mango. The temperature requirements for growing mango, they are quite high, and it suggests that it is a summer crop. Am I right, Aditi?
Definitely, Mariam. That's the reason why we get mangoes generally in the summers only. Now, may I please change the value to rice?
Yes, sure, why not? And here you go. So you can now check the updated values. I can see that the rainfall requirements for rice, they are quite heavy, which means that it can be grown during the rainy season. But I have a question for you, that even though rice is only grown during the rainy season, how is it possible that rice is always available throughout all the seasons of the year? Guys, can you answer this question in the comment box?
There are so many responses to your question, Mariam. We have a great audience today, yaar. I'm so glad. And actually, I completely agree with these responses that rice can be grown any time of the season using irrigation, etc. Mariam, I have a request and I'm not sure if it'll be possible. But can we create a function to compare all the different crops based on their climatic and soil conditions required?
Yes, definitely. In fact, Aditi, I have already created that function. So let me just copy and paste that function. And here I go. Yes. Okay, so again we have another interactive function, and this time inside the function we will have to specify the climatic and the soil conditions based on which we want to compare the crops. And after that we will print the average requirement for each of the crops one by one. So just give me 1 second.
Awesome work, Mariam. I want to try this function out by selecting the amount of rainfall required.
Yes, sure. So let me select rainfall from the drop down, and here you go. So you can now start analyzing the results.
Thanks, Mariam. Now let me do some analysis. It seems that rice requires heavy rainfall, whereas the fruits such as muskmelon and watermelon require very less rainfall comparatively. Guys, I would highly recommend you to play with this data set and do your own analysis. Mariam, let's proceed further.
Yeah, sure, Aditi. Now let us try to make this function more intuitive, and we can do that by separating the crops which have lower than average requirement for the soil and the climatic conditions. Similarly, we can also separate crops that have higher than the average requirements for the soil and the climatic conditions. And this will help us to identify those crops which have unusual soil and climatic conditions.
In data science jargon, these unusual findings are referred to as anomalies.
You're right. So I'm again, copying, pasting the code to save time. So just give me a second. Yeah. Now we have a complete crops overview. We can easily see and identify the crops which require less than average ratio of nitrogen in soil, and also the crops that require more than the average ratio of nitrogen in the soil. Okay. Okay, now let us check the values for temperature. So we can see that they are very well separated But we are not stopping here. Next, let us also check the distribution of all the soil and climatic conditions for all the different crops present in this data set.
Maryam, before checking the distribution for all the columns, can you please brief a little about what is distribution and why is it important? For many people, distribution is a new jargon, and I don't want even a single student to remain confused about it. So please explain.
Yes, absolutely, Aditi. Guys, a data distribution is the foundation of all the statistics and probability. It shows all the possible values in a given field or column with their associated occurrences. Checking the distribution is very important as it helps us to visualize the anomalies or the outliers that are present in the data. And the distribution, it also helps us to get an idea about the overall pattern.
Well, this makes complete sense, Maryam. Guys, as Maryam mentioned, distribution is the fundamental building block concept. So you have to understand it very clearly. Okay, Maryam, let's make these distribution charts using the distplot function from the Seaborn library. Here, distplot stands for distribution plot and Seaborn library is a visualization library. By the way, I really love the name of this library, Seaborn. It reminds me of those people who are born near the sea and can enjoy the beaches any time of the year. Guys, what does everyone think about the name of the library? Isn't Seaborn a cool name?
Yes, indeed. Why should it not? Really witty. Now, since you've mentioned, I've also started loving this name, Seaborn. But now let us come back to these distribution charts. So let me just quickly copy and paste the code that will generate the distribution plots. As we all can see that for each soil and climatic condition, there is a distribution chart which gives us an overall idea. Now, Aditi, can you help us to find the hidden patterns from these graphs?
Sure, Maryam. Let me try. Guys, everyone should also try with me. I can see that there are some crops which require very high proportions of phosphorus and potassium, as the distribution chart for both phosphorus and potassium is highly skewed. Apart from that, I can see that there are some crops which require very high and very low temperatures for their growth. Similarly, there are some crops which require very high and very low pH values in the soil. Guys, did you find any patterns from these distribution charts? If yes, then please put them down in the comment section. I would be delighted.
That is impressive, Aditi. You are absolutely right. Now, as we have got some ideas and hints about the hidden patterns in the data, so let us check out these patterns from the data set by using a filtering conditions.
Hidden patterns. That sounds like CSI. One of my favorite TV seasons, you know.
No, Aditi, we are not doing those forensic investigations. But yes, coming back, let me again copy and paste a small code. And yes, here it is.
I can see a couple of students are asking about the Python code. Well, as we said, at the end of the workshop, we will help you with the data science bootcamp that is specially meant for helping beginners and intermediate users to use their learning, and code blocks like these would look like a piece of cake.
Yes, guys, these are super simple code blocks and no point in getting alarmed. The most important thing is to understand the patterns after applying the code.
And we call that dataset mindset.
Okay, now let's get back. So using these filtering conditions, we will try to filter out the crops which have extreme soil and climatic requirements. So let me just do that. Now we can easily see the minimum and maximum thresholds by looking at these distribution charts. Our results are ready. As our normal pattern, Aditi would be analyzing these results we have obtained so far.
Okay, thank you, Maryam. I love analysis results, you know. It's a complete pleasure. I can see that cotton requires nitrogen in huge quantity, whereas apples and grapes both require high quantity of phosphorus and potassium. I can see that crops such as rice, papaya, and coconut require huge amount of rainfall. Then we have grapes which require very low rainfall compared to all other crops. After that, I can see that chickpea and kidney beans require very low humidity. And finally, the most interesting pattern from this result is that the moth beans can be grown in both low and high pH values of the soil. This was super fun and very insightful. Thanks, Mariam. Am I correct?
Okay guys, so what do you all think? Was Aditi able to spot the patterns correctly? Please reply with a yes or no in the comments.
I'm getting a lot of yes, yeah. Yay, I did well.
Great work, Aditi. You have found some interesting patterns, but there is a lot more to explore. So now let us try to find out the list of crops which are the most suitable for summer, winter, and for the rainy seasons. And to do this, we will be using the filtering conditions yet again. So we just need to filter the crops based upon the temperature and humidity required for each of the seasons, that is summer, winter, and rainy. So let me just copy paste the code for you guys. And yeah, now I will run it, and here is the result for you.
Well, this is so cool, Mariam. We can see pigeon peas, moth beans, black gram, mango, grapes, oranges, and papayas are grouped as a summer crops, whereas maize, pigeon peas, lentils, pomegranate, grapes, and oranges are grouped as a winter crops. And finally, rice, coconut, and papaya are grouped as rainy crops. This can be very helpful, Mariam. What's next?
Guys, till now we have done so much exploratory analysis, and now it is time for us to find out the similar crops based on their soil and climatic conditions. And for doing this, we are going to use the concept of clustering analysis. Finding out the similar crops, it can help the farmers in alternative farming.
Clustering analysis. That sounds very fancy.
Not that fancy at all. Let me explain. So clustering analysis in simple words. Clustering analysis is a technique that is used to classify the data points into relative groups called clusters.
So remember these two words, classify and classify your data points so that your clusters of data points can be easily distinguished.
Yes, in fact, clustering is an unsupervised learning, which means that we will not provide any labels for training the data. Instead, we will simply find out the similar data points by following the existing patterns within the data. And to perform clustering, we are going to use the popular k-means clustering analysis that can be imported from the sklearn library very easily.
Mariam, I'm not sure. We have imported this algorithm.
Yes, we just imported the sklearn library, and this library, it has multiple machine learning algorithms. So let us get started and import the algorithm from this library. This line from sklearn.cluster import k-means, it will import this library for us. Next, we will have to remove the labels column, as unsupervised learning doesn't require any labeling for training the data. We will use the drop function like this to remove or drop this column. Now we can see that our data is ready, as we have successfully removed the labels column from the data.
Mariam, that was so simple. I mean, now we apply the k-means clustering algorithm into this data and perform the clustering analysis, right?
Not yet, Aditi. To perform clustering analysis, we will have to determine the right number of clusters that are required for separating these data points. And for doing that, we will have to use the elbow method.
Elbow method. This name is anything but fancy.
See, the elbow method, it is a heuristic which is used in determining the number of clusters in a data set. So this method, it consists of plotting the number of clusters and picking the elbow from the curve as the optimum number of clusters to use.
Maryam, let's proceed and plot the elbow chart. I can see that the students are very excited to see that. How are we going to find out the optimal number of clusters by just looking at the elbow from the elbow chart?
I'm sure there must be. But guys, before plotting the elbow chart, let me remind you again that an elbow chart, it has a slight bend. So let me now just copy the code for plotting the elbow chart, and here I go. So we have our elbow chart, guys. Now you can see that there are two elbows here. Now the first one is at point 3 and the second one is at point 4. Now the question arises, which of these two elbows should we choose? In such cases, we will simply choose to go with the latest elbow. That means our answer is 4, and hence we are going to have 4 clusters in our data set.
That was so simple, Maryam. Since we have got the optimum number of clusters to be formed in the data set, let's now apply the k-means clustering algorithm on the data set.
Yes, Aditi, we are now ready. It is going to be very simple. We just have to specify the n clusters parameter inside the k-means clustering algorithm as 4, and we are all done. So yeah, like this. After that, the algorithm is defined. We will train our data using this algorithm and store it in a variable called y-means. And here I go. And finally, the results are ready. The crops in same clusters are similar to each other, which in turn will help the farmers to choose the alternate crops very easily and maximize their productivity.
This is so cool. Such a simple algorithm and such a huge business impact. I can see that the crops such as maize, chickpea, kidney beans, pigeon peas, moth beans, mung beans, black ram, lentil, pomegranate, mango, orange, papaya, coconut are a part of first cluster. After that, I can see that grapes and apples fall in the same cluster. Then we have maize, banana, watermelon, muskmelon, papaya, cotton, coffee in the third cluster. And finally, rice, pigeon peas, papaya, coconut, jute, and coffee. Guys, can you see that the crops in the same cluster are very much similar to each other? I hope you have realized the power of data science now. Okay, so who all are ready to move ahead to the next part?
Well, it seems like everyone is ready. Guys, the next part is about building a predictive model that can suggest the best crops according to the soil and the climatic conditions available for a specific region. Okay, everyone, if you remember, we had already discussed in the first 5 minutes of this workshop that our goal is to increase the agricultural productivity, which we can do by suggesting the most suitable crops according to the soil and the climatic condition requirements. And for building this predictive model, we will train our data set using a machine learning model that can predict the most suitable crops.
Maryam, predictive modeling. I'm really curious. Is it very difficult to train a predictive model? Can you please simplify and explain a bit more about the predictive model?
Sure, Aditi. Actually, I knew you were going to ask this. Guys, predictive models are simple examples of AI applications. In a predictive model, we train a machine learning model using the training data set. And after the model gets trained, we can use the same model to give us predictions for a specific set of data. So in the whole process of training the model will try to learn the trends and patterns from the data so that it can do the predictions later.
Guys, I hope you've got the basic idea about the predictive model as well. That first we are going to teach and train the model, and then we are going to test the model. Train and test. But guys, have you thought what will happen if the model is not able to learn the trends and patterns from the data properly and subsequently give poor results? Or how are you going to make sure if the model is good or bad? Or further, how can you trust a model? If anybody knows the answer, please post it in the comment section.
That is a very relevant question, Aditi. To check the model's performance, we have so many evaluation metrics.
Evaluation metrics? What are those?
Evaluation metrics, as the name sounds, they are metrics that will help us in evaluating the model's performance. They are used to analyze the performance of the predictive model and hence generate trust in the model. These evaluation metrics, they help us to generate an accuracy score for the predictive model, which in turn helps us to understand how accurate the predictions are. I hope I was able to answer that question of yours.
Yes, thanks, Maryam.
No problem at all. Now let us proceed and start building our machine learning predictive model. And for this project, we are going to use the logistic regression model. And even before you ask Aditi, let me answer myself. So logistic regression is a probabilistic model that works very well in cases of likelihood and multiple classes.
Just another point. Classes is another name for labels, right?
Yes. So we have around 20 classes or labels, and because logistic regression, it generally works in cases where classes or labels are more than 2. And here we have 20, so we use logistic regression.
Hey Maryam, logistic regression is one model. What about others?
Yes, there are dozens of popular machine learning models, though because of limited scope and time foundation for this workshop, we are limiting our scope with only logistic regression. But for those students who want to learn other models as well, we have some cutting-edge machine learning courses available at Data is Good. For example, we have specially designed courses for probabilistic models, then for deterministic models, tree-based models, boosting models, imbalanced models, anomaly models, and etc. etc. So you can check these data science training packages and courses on our official website.
Perfect. But I can see some students also want to understand the mathematics behind the logistic regression model. Maryam, will it be possible for you to explain the nitty-gritty details about the logistic regression model?
I really wanted to explain that, Aditi, but trust me, it's going to take a hell lot of time, and that is why I recommend you to check out our courses and learn it in detail and depth from there. And not only that, if you get stuck while learning, you can connect with the mentors and get your doubts resolved anytime. So yes, guys, coming back on the track, first of all, we will have to separate the labels from the data set, because if we do not do this, the model will cheat.
Models will cheat? How is that even possible?
Before explaining about cheating, I want to explain another thing first. So we will store the labels in a variable named as y, and the rest of the variables, they are assigned to a new variable as x. So let me just copy and paste this small code. Yes. We cannot keep both x and y sets together for training the model, as we want to predict y. And if we keep them both together, then the model will already get to know about the labels and there will be no point of training. So in simple words, if you get the answer sheet for your test, why would you study further? So in our case, X will contain all the columns such as the ratio of nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, temperature, humidity, rainfall, and pH of the soil. And then Y, it will have the labels, that is the name of the crops.
Easy peasy. Guys, what do you think? Perfect. Few students want a little more explanation. Maryam, can I try?
Yeah, sure. Be my guest, Aditi.
Okay, so let me just put it out in layman terms for the students once again. Here, X can be referred to as the question paper and Y can be referred to as the answer sheet.
Aditi, you just repeated what I said earlier. Guys, if you get stuck anywhere, please feel free to reach out to us on our website. We will try to help you out whichever way possible. Now let us split the data set into two parts, that is the training set and the testing set. We are doing this so that we can check the accuracy of our model on the testing set after training the model using the training set. You can see that the training set has 1760 rows and the testing set has only 440 rows because we have chosen to go with the ratio of 80:20 for splitting the training and testing sets, which means 80% of all the data will go into the training set and rest of the 20% of the data, it will go in the testing set. Now, as you can see that our training and testing sets are ready, it is time for us to build our machine learning predictive model. And for that, we will have to import the logistic regression algorithm from sklearn.linear model module, as you can see on the screen. Yes. Now let's define our logistic regression predictive model. After the model is defined, we have to train the model using the train function. And finally, we will have to train the model on the training set, that is X-train and Y-train. And we are all done. Great, so we successfully built a predictive model, guys.
Maryam, now as the model is trained, can we start making predictions using this model?
Definitely, Aditi. We can make predictions using the model that we trained by using the predict function. And now we are going to make the predictions for the testing set that we have created a little while ago and saved it into a variable called y_pred. Now we know that the answers for the X test set are in the Y test set. So to check the accuracy of this model, we can compare a Y test with ypred. And to do that, we are going to import the classification report from the sklearn library that will help us to understand the accuracy of this model.
Maryam, before we proceed, there are some students who want to know a little more about the classification report. So please explain about it briefly.
Guys, a classification report is a table which gives us the accuracy of the classification model. That includes precision and recall. High value of precision and recall hints towards a very good predictive model. That means greater the value of your precision and recall in your model, the better is your model's performance.
Maryam, can you please paste the code for classification report?
Yeah, sure. Here we go.
Guys, now as you can see that our precision and recall for all the 22 classes are very high. Hence, we can proudly say that our model is highly accurate. This is a great feeling when your model is accurate.
Yes, Aditi, no matter if you're a beginner or an expert, whenever your model gives an accurate prediction, you feel like you have the best job in the world. And now we are done with testing, so it's time for some real-time predictions.
Can't wait, Maryam. And what about you guys? I think you should reply with ready in the comments below to tell everyone that you're also ready. My fingers are itching to play with some real data and get accurate predictions. Data science is so powerful.
Absolutely, Aditi. Yes, we both are a little biased, but data scientist is the best job in the world. Yes, and the magic starts now. We will be giving the inputs of the soil and climatic conditions for a region and then check out the output. The output will be that crop which will be the most suitable for a particular region.
Maryam, I have a question here. How do we know if the results are right or wrong?
For that, we can take some ideas from this data set. For example, let us check if this model can identify the soil and climatic conditions for rice or not. For that, we will check the data set and find out the right values and will change accordingly. So let us check the head of the data set. Now we can take some ideas about the requirements for rice, and then we can pass on these values to the model for getting an output. Aditi, would you like to try it out?
Sure, why not? So let me first take a look at the table. Guys, now I will be passing on the values into the model by looking at the data set. So I will pick 90 for ratio of nitrogen, then 40 for ratio of potassium. After that, 40 for ratio of phosphorus. 20 for temperature. 20 for temperature, and then 80 for humidity. After that, 7 for pH of the soil, and finally 200 for rainfall in millimeter. And done. Maryam, please input the values.
Sure.
Hooray! Model suggests rice. This is cool. The model is so accurate. I'm so happy.
Guys, you must be thinking that this model, it gave pretty accurate results and was able to identify rice. But is it good for identifying other crops as well? So let us check this model for oranges also. First of all, let me filter the data to check the values for oranges and feed the model with the input as we did earlier. I will go 20 for the ratio of nitrogen, 30 for the ratio of potassium, 10 for phosphorus, 15 for temperature, 90 for humidity, 7.5 for pH of the soil, and finally 100 for rainfall in millimeter. Okay, and here we go. The output is orange. Brilliant. So we did it. Now this verifies the accuracy of the model. The model is doing great. I'm so proud of this model actually.
Really, Maryam, this model is giving accurate results. I'm really happy to be part of this project, and I can't wait to try more data sets with this. Hey, but from where can we download the data set used in this project?
We will be sending the data set to all our students in the emails and SMS in the next few minutes. So no need to download it from anywhere. You will get it in your email.
Maryam, perfect. I hope everyone had a great time doing this workshop. For one, I really enjoyed it. Maryam, I think we should do these workshops more often.
Absolutely, Aditi. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone who has remained with us so far. This shows that you are super serious and committed to make your career in data science.
Absolutely, Maryam. This kind of commitment always gives good results. Plus, you have been such an encouraging audience to us, always cheering us at regular intervals. It was great, honestly. Visit us at datasgood.com and enroll with us today. We would love to have you on board. Thanks everyone. It was a wonderful experience. We really had a great time. I hope everyone who has taken out time to join us also enjoyed this workshop.
Thanks from my side as well. I also had loads and loads of fun. All of you were such an encouraging audience and we really loved the energy in the room. Both of us are looking forward to meeting you inside the program. Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.